first, let's do the roll call. I'm Sherry Sensibrian, presiding officer. One of our public members, Manny Bodner, is not here today, right?
Correct.
Okay, Patricia Brannon.
Here.
Val Bryant.
Here.
Amy Camp.
Here.
Carl Hummel is also absent today, another public member. Bob Novak, who has already indicated that he's leaving the board. Kristen Plummer.
Here.
Michelle Tejada.
Here.
And we have a quorum. Do we have anybody that... Do we have anybody that needs to be introduced? Other than we'll have as part of board reports. Any other guests or anything? No? Okay, so the next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. I hope the board members had a chance to review the minutes that Tamala sent out earlier in the week. Were there any changes? Or do I hear a motion to accept as submitted?
This is Michelle Tejada. My name is misspelled.
Oh, yeah, it's spelled as Tejada. Okay.
What paragraph, I'm sorry?
In the first list of the board members present.
Apologies, I'll correct that before the end of the meeting.
Okay, thanks. Any other changes, or would someone like to make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted?
I move that we accept the minutes as, I guess, changed.
With the provisions.
With the amendment?
With the
Uh-huh.
amendment.
Right. So moved by Patty Brannon. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Chevelle Bryant seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The minutes are accepted with the amendment of Michelle's name. Thank you for that. The next item on our agenda is public comment. Did we have anyone who signed up and completed the public comment form?
I did not receive any forms, which you may ask for.
Anyone? Public comment? The great thing about this system is that people can view it from home, so I know that we have some people who are interested who are doing that. Next, we have staff reports. So executive office, who's presenting for that?
That would be me.
Hey, George.
And me is George Ferry, Director of the Licensing, licensing. Sorry about that. I was thinking licensing and regulations. Let me start again. Good afternoon. My name is George Ferry. I'm the Director of the Compliance Division here at TDLR. And I will be sitting in for Mr. Francis, giving myself and Mary Winston will be giving the executive staff report. I'm going to start with this item, October 3rd. October 3rd. October 3rd. So you may be asking yourself, so what's the significance of that? October 3rd will be the go-live date when your program and 6 others coming from the Department of State Health Services will officially be at TDLR. And we will pick up all the functions, the licensing, the customer service, the enforcement, education examination, the whole gamut will be here at TDLR. So we're finally here. We've been building up to this date. Excuse me. And you will probably hear October 3rd a few more times during this meeting today, but nevertheless, we will be sending out word and emails going out and welcome messages and that sort of thing. So let me go to the agenda here. I'm going to start with item B under the executive office. That is our strategic plan. I think we may have spoken earlier about how we do strategic planning here, but I'll recap a little bit. So every state agency is required every 2 years to produce a strategic plan. The current one out there now for us is to cover the years of 2017 to 2021. The strategic plan is for agencies to kind of lay out how they intend to do business over the next 5 years. Some just kind of assign it to their strategic plan person and is here to produce us a strategic plan so we can meet this requirement. We take it very seriously here at TDLR. One of the things that we do, excuse me, that is very useful in this process is the focus group meetings we do here and around the state where we ask 4 basic questions. what are we doing well, what can we do better, if you could be king or queen for a day, what one item in law or rules would you change? And then we ask what might be happening, what might be changing in the next 5 years. Not only things like technology, but things happening in your profession that may impact the way you do business. We take all that information along with a lot of other information we gather, and we come up with our strategic plan, laying out what we think should be our priorities, what our goals might be over the next 5 years, and then we publish that on our website. Excuse me, this is going to continue, I guess. So if you go to our website, go to under agency reports, you'll find both this document, the strategic plan, and our legislative appropriations request. I suggest, or really strongly recommend, you read our strategic plan. It's a short read, but if you do nothing else, look at page 1. Page 1 is our vision, mission, philosophy, and core values.
I'm going to interrupt George right here. Mary Winston, Strategic
planned.
Communication. It is a short document as strategic plans go, but it's not really a short document. It's a heavy read. But in page 1, we do talk about our vision, mission, our goals. But on your laptops when you came in, you have our vision sheet. And it lays it out right here. Our core values of accountability, customer service, innovation, integrity, open and free communication, respect, and teamwork. And we have the goals as well. Improve efficiencies, lower fees, eliminate bottlenecks throughout the agency. This is all part of our strategic plan. It also rolled into our legislative appropriations requests of how we want to conduct business, educate and empower consumer, focus our limited enforcement resources, decrease regulatory burden on businesses, and a big one for us is removing redundancies and impediments. Say that 5 times fast. Lastly, our goal is to consolidate the 14 transferred programs. If you look on the back, we have a bold direction for tomorrow's Texas, and we have in that first set health professions. Bottom 1, because it's alphabetical, is speech language pathologists and audiologists, and we also have our mission. So the strategic plan is a good read. You can definitely take a gander at it, give us a call, because we have lots of charts and diagrams and a lot of good information. To sum it up, this is what we're working towards, and this is who we're working for. So I'm going to non-interrupt George now.
Well put. Thank you, man. All right, so do please look at, if you really want to know what TDLR is about, look at our mission and our vision and our philosophy. It really describes what we want to do and where we want to be. And in particular, look at our core values, because that is just that. It's core to what we do. We talk about them all the time here. We apply them to everything we do. We do want to treat our customers with respect. We want to be accountable. And we want to, I tell people that if you've got a difficult decision to make and you're not really sure which direction to go look at the core values. That should give you guidance. We should be treating you too with the same approach that the core values address to us. So please go and take a look at that. Do a read on that. Appropriations request. So the appropriations request is our budget request for the next biennium 2018 and 2019. And it's a lot of numbers and good stuff like that. And if you're accountant type and you're just dying to read up on all the numbers here, you can get into the meat of it. But the first part of that document includes the administrator's statement, which includes some of the stuff we've talked about that's in the strategic plan. But if you look at the administrator's statement, which starts on page 1 of the document, of the LAR, we start by laying out, talking about the legislative program consolidation that we've done here, 13 programs from DSHS, and also the Driver's Education and Safety Program, which we took over on September 1st. We also, there's some discussion about the cost savings we already effected for the licensees, slight reductions in fees, and stay tuned, there could be more. We talk about smaller, smarter government, which is our mantra here. We're really looking to do the most with the least. And then further on the docket, when we get into what are our exceptional item requests. So we were instructed, all state agencies were instructed to look at their last budget and start with 4% less than that as their base budget. But then we've gone back and we've asked for some other items that we feel strongly need to be added to this. And exceptional item number 1 is successfully consolidate 13 DSHS programs. So we got the money and the people for phase 1 in this current biennium, the one we're in now. But the money for phase 2 and the additional people we need was not included then. We're having to go back and now and ask for it. So the biggie is we're asking for 25 more people to help us with the consolidation of phase 2 and the continued implementation of phase 1. These will be spread throughout the agency. We're hoping to get all 25. We've talked a little bit about where those positions will go, but I think as we get into the implementation of phase 1, we're going to know more about where our needs really are. So stay tuned for that. We will have to go before the Appropriations Committee and the Senate Finance Committee to plead for our money and our folks to really make this a successful consolidation. But it also goes, and Mary mentioned this one goes along with our goal number 5, which is effectively consolidate and improve management and services for the 14 programs transferred. So that will be, those 2 documents really are the roadmap for us, particularly for the next 2 years. And we'll continue to give you updates and keep you informed how things go through the legislative session, which starts this January. All right. The other item on our on the staff report, personnel updates. So I think most of you know that Mr. Kuntz, our executive director, has now traded in his suit and bow tie for Hawaiian shirt and sandals, and he is officially retired from TDLR, but still here in many ways, and will continue to be an influence and an impact on this agency as we go forward, particularly the culture of TDLR, which again is influenced heavily by our core values. The other update, one of the other updates, is that Brian Francis is now our executive director. He is off doing other program stuff today. Wasn't able to be here today, but sends his greetings. And will very likely be at your next meeting coming up. The other item I'm going to address, we actually have several personnel updates, but I'm going to do one and then turn the others over to the gentleman I'm about to introduce. So as part of the growth here at TDLR in the compliance division, we added another section specific to health professions. We have 2 other sections that kind of provide the subject matter expertise for all the other programs. We created a section specifically for health professions. I had to have a manager for that section, as I do for the other 2. And the person that I chose, and I'm happy every day that I did, is Mr. Stephen Mills, who will be coming up here in a little while. He's waving in the back there. So be coming up to make the report for the compliance division in a few minutes here. Stephen's got 22 plus years of experience at DSHS. Many of you may already know Stephen, but he will be heading up that section in the compliance division. He is also has hired a couple other folks, excuse me, that he will be introducing. Those are the other personnel updates. He and I have been doing interviews for 3 more positions. So we'll have a total of 6 people in that section for phase 1. And we'll see what the need is as we go forward into phase 2 for additional folks. I believe that's all I have for the executive staff report, unless y'all have any questions. All right, thank you.
Thank you, George. Next up is General Counsel's office.
Good afternoon. Wendy Pello, Assistant General Counsel. Just wanted to give you a brief update on the adopted new rules under 16 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 111. That's the speech language pathologists and audiologists new rules for TDLR. Just as a refresher, at your last meeting back in May, we had informed you that the Commission had adopted those rules with recommended changes that had come out from the Advisory Board and the Department, and those rules were adopted back on April 13th. Since your last meeting, the rule adoption notices were published in the Texas Register on June 17th, And those adoption notices and the adopted rules are both posted on the TDLR website under this program's webpage. Just as a reminder, the rules aren't effective until October 1st. And as George briefly mentioned, the regulatory functions don't start until October 3rd. But we did want to make sure those rules were posted so people got a chance to review those and become familiar with them before they became effective and the transfer became effective as well. So that's just the only thing to bring you all up to date on from the General Counsel's office.
So compliance.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members. As George mentioned, my name is Stephen Mills. I'm the TDLR Health Professions Section Manager. And I thought I would start with some personnel updates. Back in July, we interviewed for 2 program specialist 6 positions to serve as our lead specialists for the 7 programs transferring in Phase 1. And I'd like to introduce those 2 folks today. First, we have Yvonne Feinleib, and she is right here. Yvonne has been with DSHS for 18 years, and her experience is primarily in the midwifery and the orthotist and prosthetist programs. However, she has broad experience that crossed all the programs within professional licensing relating to the implementation of the licensing database versus regulation, the licensing online services versus online, and a number of other projects that she was assigned over the years. So I'm looking forward to working with Yvonne here at TDLR. And then I think you know this person to my right, Katie Bryce, has been serving the last few years as the Executive Director of the Speech and Audiology Licensing Board within DSHS. And we thought that her experience was particularly valuable to bring on board and help us as we transition this program here at TDLR. And Katie is a joy to work with, I will say. So as far as our other positions, we have 3 more program specialists coming on board. We've been interviewing all week. We interviewed all day yesterday. We interviewed Tuesday and did another one this morning. Those have concluded. We hope to make decisions and offers by this time next week. Get those folks on board hopefully mid-October. So Katie will serve as a lead for 3 licensing programs: speech and audiology, athletic trainers, and hearing instrument fitters and dispensers. I don't know how I blanked on that one. Yvonne then will serve as the lead for the other 4. Each of them will be paired with another program specialist who will assist them in all their duties relating to those programs. So when we get that person on board, you may see that person occasionally also at your meetings. So I think that's the personnel updates. Under the Compliance Division report, items A and D are really the same items, and I'm going to just sort of take D, update on health professions consolidation team. So back in July, our executive director formed a cross-functional team across the agency, asked me to work with the team to coordinate these, the transition of these programs from DSHS in Phase 1. Brian set out 3 team goals to ensure that we're all on the same page in the same book across all of our functions, to serve as a forum for brainstorming, planning, airing challenges, and coming up with solutions to problems, and to integrate the knowledge and experience of DSHS staff members hired at TDLR with the expertise of TDLR's longtime team members. We have a relatively large team, a number of functional areas. Actually, each functional area is represented, and I want to tell you the names so that you get an idea sort of the breadth of what we're doing. IT, of course, licensing, customer service, enforcement, education and examinations, compliance, field operations, general counsel, web and social media, strategic communications, financial services, the Office of Innovation, and our colleagues at DSHS. This group of folks meets weekly, and we've been meeting weekly since late July. We've had lively and long discussions about a number of topics. One of the first things we did was establish the highest priorities for 10/3, our go-live date. We said what things must be in place, must happen at 8 a.m. on October 3rd. And those things are licensing. We must have the ability to receive and process license applications, print licenses, and we must have an IT system that will enable us to do so. In addition to that, we must have online services available for our customers. So people must be able to apply online for a license or a renewal, or search online to determine if someone is licensed. Customer service was the second thing we came up with. We have to be able to answer the phone, and after we do that, we have to be able to answer the questions. Web services and content. It was obvious that we need timely information out there. And then complaint intake, all right? People who have complaints and issues with license holders, just because the program's transferred, they still need an avenue to report those issues. Taking those priorities, we've engaged in a number of projects and activities, and I'd like to tell you about a few of those. On the IT side, of course, there is a formal IT project here at TDLR for this, working with our vendor, MicroPact, and we're bringing over the VR, Versa Regulation System, from DSHS that has been in use there successfully about 10 years and has been upgraded a couple of times, as well as VO, Versa Online, which is the suite of online services. I think you may have seen a demo of that this morning and met some of the key people. Sherry.
Did, right.
Okay, so the IT project is working, and they're very busy, and they're giving us weekly updates on what's going on there. And then most members of the team are also participating in what's called user acceptance training or user acceptance testing, and that's where we actually sit down with test data and the system as it's configured today. We run transactions, we enter dummy license applications, we approve licenses, and where there's problems, we document those and report those to IT for resolution. We've had 3 rounds of user acceptance testing in most divisions. The VO portion is very important. It's not going to be operational unless we have successful testing through the state comptroller's e-pay system, the Texas e-pay system. So we have to have 2 rounds of successful testing with them in the 30 days prior to go live. First round is complete and was successful. Second round is a little more intensive. It involves 3 consecutive days with a certain number of transactions. If you have a fail late on the 3rd day, you have to start over. That has been completed this week, and we're awaiting the final success report, and we anticipate that it was successful. So that's kind of on the IT side. Other things that we've been doing, we did a postcard mail out to all transferring license holders from DSHS. I hope that y'all have received it. So it was a mail out of about 30,000, and we used the current addresses that were on file with DSHS as of very recently. We also, besides license holders, we mailed it to people with pending applications less than 1 year. We have a welcome to TDLR email blast planned for October 3rd, and a press release will also be going out that morning. The press release will be provided to all the relevant associations with the hope that they will pass that on to their membership. So that's how we're trying to get the word out. Our web content about transition, we've been working hard on FAQs, and I don't know if you've been to the website recently, but In the last 2 weeks, we've been posting new content probably every 3 or 4 days, if not more frequently. So you'll see a lot of new FAQs. Some of them are global, that relate to all the transferring programs, and some of them are program specific that relate to the speech and audiology program. Customer service training modules. Classroom training will begin in our customer service unit, formal classroom training on the 26th. Informal training has been ongoing. Some of that informal training has been, we've been sending staff to DSHS to shadow their customer service reps. So they will sit next to these folks, they'll wear the headset, listen in, and then at the conclusion of the call, they'll be working with the DSHS customer service rep to get questions answered, to understand why that approach was taken, for example, in answering that question. It's a little different at DSHS. Remember, their customer service staff are also licensing processors, so those functions are combined there and they're separated here. We believe that's going to result in some significant service improvements. As well as, besides the customer service staff being on site at DSHS, our licensing staff have been spending a great amount of time there. This goes back at least probably 3 months now. And in the last month, we've invested a great deal of staff resources at DSHS on a daily basis. We're real proud of that. That has enabled our licensing staff to actually learn the licensing processes using the system there that will be in use here. To communicate with their licensing staff, again, to understand the rationale and why things are happening the way they're happening. The other benefit from that is the reduction of the DSHS backlog, which has been significant in times past. In recent times past, I might add. So I just got a report from our staff who've been going to DSHS this morning, as well as the report that I got from DSHS last week. All SRSs have been processed if they were received prior to September 21st. Now, I know that there's been some isolated reports, and I looked into one. And we contacted that director and got the name of the person that was involved. And that was updated some time ago, so we're not sure about that miscommunication. And that got me concerned, though, because my understanding was there's not going to be a significant backlog. The less of a backlog that we have coming to us on October 3rd from DSHS, the less likely we are to have a huge crushing demand for services on the very first day. So the SRS backlog, when it comes to us, will be 6 working days. Now that doesn't mean that we may not be called to account for a mistake or an oversight that was made at DSHS in the last 6 weeks. That sort of thing may come up, but there is no significant backlog of SRSs. As far as the backlog on licensing, all licenses have been processed if they could be processed, if they were complete, if they were received prior to the 19th, which was Monday of this week. So that means our licensing backlog on October 3rd will be 10 working days. 6 working days on the SRSs, 10 working days on the licensing apps. And in terms of backlogs at DSHS, that's better than it has been in a good while. So, and of course, of the 7 programs coming, the speech and audiology program has the largest volume. So I feel good about that backlog situation and how that positions us for October 3rd. We have been working on revising application forms to change, of course, the name of the agency, the address, the contact information, and also to restructure the forms into the TDLR model. All forms here at TDLR, the information is collected in a certain order so that people doing their data entry, no matter what program, it's all sort of flowing in the same way. And we expect the paper application forms to be posted sometime next week, early to mid next week, we hope. A large number of staff have been hired across the agency in customer service, licensing, and compliance. Many of those staff from DSHS. With the exception of the compliance folks, most DSHS staff will not be starting until October 3rd. We couldn't take them away from DSHS and expect the programs to still be operating in their absence. So our customer service and licensing staff that are coming from DSHS will begin with us on the 3rd. We've been working real heavy on exam administration for the 2 programs that TDLR will be doing that for. We have been boning up on medical records privacy, training and procedures. That's a little bit of a new topic for TDLR, and that is ongoing. And we have been involved with our DSHS colleagues in inventorying and boxing and planning the transfer of a large number of records. And in some programs it's quite large, and in this program it is. As you know, the Speech and Audiology Board was created back in '83, I believe is correct. And so a large number of records related to rulemaking and legislative analysis and so forth, various administrative records, have been accumulated over the years, as well as the licensee records, some of which are stored on site at the Exchange Building, most of which are in storage. Let's see, I'll talk a little bit about the DSHS wind down. On this past Monday, the 19th, they took down their Versa online system, and they also removed paper applications from their website. This was important so that they could spend the next 4 working days processing all applications that they had in. Yesterday afternoon, their system went to view only. It was frozen, okay, meaning that no staff members could make any change to any of the data. That's important for data integrity for when it comes to us. So they are in a view only mode. The online search and verification is still functional on the DSHS side, and it will remain functional until October 3rd when ours comes up. So what that means is we're entering a period of 6 working days where neither agency can process a license application or issue a license. It's just one of the necessary evils of transition. 6 working days is, I think, a tolerable period. I'm glad it's not longer. I've heard of it being longer in other transitions. So we are in that period, and some customers, of course, that for someone who needs immediate service, that will be a frustrating response. And they will receive that response from either agency. That's just our reality for the next week. So that kind of gives you some examples of what our team has been working on. We've been working on a lot of other things, but I won't bore you with any more details there. I do want to say that we're confident that our major goals for October 3rd will be met. We are aware that we're likely to have some issues to iron out, and we're working on contingency plans for some things that we think might possibly happen. Other things that are unexpected, we will do troubleshooting and problem solving as necessary and work our way through those. Our team is working well together, and I think one of the most valuable things that we have is a collaborative working relationship with the DSHS staff. We're identifying gaps and challenges. We're proposing solutions. We're reporting our activities to the agency weekly. We are planning weekly outreach calls to associations and advisory board chairs beginning the first week of transition and lasting for the month of October. Associations and chairs will be hearing more about that real soon. We'll be reaching out to folks to set those calls up. We think it's important to have that personal contact, to make some reports, let people know how it's going, what's working, what might not be working so well, what challenges we're working on, and to hear what association members are saying and perhaps identify some needs that we haven't identified. So with that, I think that completes everything I wanted to say on that topic. Do you have any questions on transition?
Sherry Sincerian, so of course I have a couple.
Sure.
As questions come up out there in our world, I've sent some on to Mary. Is there a process that's a preferred way to let you guys know sort of what the hubbub is out there in the speech pathology and audiology world?
Absolutely.
So that you can get those FAQs out
Katie and
there?
I would very much like to hear that.
Okay.
And we'll either act on it personally or we'll ensure that it's taken care of.
Okay, so that would be one way, is just to email you and say, here,
Absolutely.
I overheard at a meeting that people are worried about this. And the second question is for individual licensees who have concerns, they think something's not right with their license, whatever. I know on our homepage I think there's both an email and a phone number. So does it matter what way they should contact the agency to say, hey, I think there's a problem?
We think an email contact is most efficient, but people are welcome to contact us, in whichever way they're
Either
most
way.
comfortable with.
If they call, are they getting the customer service people?
They
Is
will
that
get
who
the
answers?
customer service team, and depending on the nature of their question and where it goes, that call can definitely be referred to Katie if needed. And you can also share Katie's contact information with an individual if you need to.
Okay.
If you feel that person needs some immediate intervention.
Okay, thanks.
Stephen?
Yes.
Just one correction, shall we say, on that. We would like to make sure that all the contact from the advisory board directly goes through our advisory board coordinators here.
Okay.
And then it get filtered to our
We'll
staff.
send it on
Obviously,
to-
if you just got a question as a licensee, then sure, by all means, please talk to Stephen and Katie. But if, as an advisory board member, you want to send some questions to us, then advisory.board at board. That's boards with an S, by the way, at tdlr.texas.gov. And then, more than likely it's going to end up with Stephen or Katie, but we just want to be able to coordinate that contact so everyone's aware of what we're hearing from our advisory boards.
Okay.
And this is Mary again, and we like to know, we like to trend what is being asked and a point of contact. And since we try to take care of you guys, we want to make sure that we know it's answered by Stephen or Katie or someone from TDLR, but we just want to check that off because we do track that.
Call it belt and suspenders, if you will. But we want to make sure you do get an answer to your question, so.
Sure, and I appreciate those things becoming FAQs, because if one person asked it, then somebody
That's
else
right.
wants to know too.
Absolutely,
And
yes.
that's the
Sure.
best place to get the information out, so.
And frequently, it's going to be one of staff members that are hearing and then producing the FAQs to get posted on the website. So.
And we
Other-
did create some FAQs, Sherry, based
Saw.
on some of your questions.
Yes, I checked them out yesterday.
Okay,
so-
good.
Yeah, that was fast. I was like, that's great, yeah.
Good.
So, and that's really what I'm hoping, is that we can just refer people to the homepage. That you're going to find a lot of information there. Go check there. That's probably where you're going to find the answer to your question. So, great. Other questions for Stephen and Katie?
This is Patricia Brannon. Stephen, on that 6-day, time period where it's like no man's land, are we gonna try to give a little leeway for the timelines for renewals and licenses and plus, I didn't hear anything about how we're doing on renewals, if we're behind or if we're.
Thank you, Patty. I should have mentioned renewals, and so I'm glad you brought that up. DSHS extended all licenses that expired in August, September, and October for a period of 60 days. So, and we thought it was a great idea when they brought it up, and we're fully supportive. The point being that eliminates demand for licensing services at the time, for renewal services at the time of transition. So no one's license is expiring on September 30th. Hence, no one should be in panic mode on the morning of October 3rd, we hope.
Okay, so that's for August, September, and October.
August, September, and October licenses were extended for 60 days, 2 months. DSHS sent everyone a letter, and they reprinted those renewal cards with the new expiration date and enclosed that with the letter. And you also see that on the online search.
Great, thank you.
So that, I think, probably answers your question there.
Well, and that takes pressure off of dishes and TDLR to try to get
Yes.
that taken care of.
And
Okay.
that way folks don't have to suffer, because we knew that this sort of dead zone was coming. We just didn't know how long it would be. And so being able to eliminate demand for renewals, I think that's great.
Okay, good.
Nothing else? Thanks so much. We'll obviously be seeing a lot of you over the next little while, so.
Thank y'all.
And I would like to add, thank you, Stephen, very thorough report, as you have been doing, and welcome aboard, sir, and also a hearty TDLR welcome to Katie and Yvonne. We're glad you all saw fit to come to work for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Perfect. Okay, so next up, we have education and examinations. Nope.
Oh, by the way, have I mentioned October 3rd?
October 3rd. What's happening?
And by the way, that October 3rd is actually 9 days, 17 hours, 17 minutes, and 24 seconds from now, so.
I bet Stephen could have told you that.
George, you need a life.
Beg pardon?
You need a life.
No, this is my life. Well, we have I don't have that in my head. We have a clock on our internal website. So.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Ray Pizarro, Director of the Education and Examination Division. As you've heard, 9 days. In 9 days and prior to that, we're trying to get this up and going, but again, we like to be perfect, if you will. We don't want to make mistakes, so we don't want to prematurely put information out there that could potentially be wrong. So with that said, we have developed language for your industry and all of the other DSHS industries that are coming over to kind of give them information about their CE, what is required, specifically for you guys who are the listed approved sponsors. And that's going to be on our website on a click of a button. You're going to click on CE and it's going to tell you basically as of October 3rd, this is what you need to do to renew your license. These are the CEs that you need to take. Here are their approved sponsors, that kind of thing. We're going to try to get that out prior to October 3rd. That's the language is complete, and we're working with IT to get all that in place. On Monday, the 26th, two of you, Michelle and Cheval, you're going to be participating with us on looking at the JP exam. And basically what we're going to do is we really want to change the terms from DSHS to TDLR, and we want to look at the questions that are currently out there and see if they're appropriately referenced to the current rule. We've already done this exercise with some of the other groups, and there are many questions that are not even found in the rules. So what we're doing with those questions is we're going to table those. We call them delete, but we're not really deleting it. We're going to table them, put the exam out there, let it start being administered by the third-party vendor, and we'll come back on the tail end after October 3rd and start either replacing those questions with a question that's similar to where they wanted to be and get a reference for that and send those questions over to eStrategy and get them up and running. Eventually thereafter, probably in January, we're going to look at maybe modifying on how that JP exam is being administered. Right now, internally, we've taken that exam, and it's a matter of a click of a button until you get the answer right. So there's no really push on actually reading that information and understanding the knowledge. So we're trying to do it as, for example, if you read the question, you get it wrong, we're going to say, no, wrong, try again, but we're going to give you another set of question maybe with a different answer related to that, so that it prompts the reader to say, you really need to read this. It's still going to be it's not going to be a no-fail exam, but it's going to actually be more of a CE type course that you're going to read and try to get it right instead of just guessing. Those are the things right now that we're working on. Stephen has mentioned a lot of the major work, and part of our group is part of what he's charged to oversee, and we're trying to get all those pieces of the puzzle together so that we have a good final product as of October 3rd. But if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them.
This is Patricia Brannon. So is there an exam up and for somebody to take it?
Currently, right now, DSHS is doing the JP exam, and it's
Okay.
up. So what's going to happen is when the transition occurs, which is East Strategies, all they're going to do is change the background of this is TDLR, because it's really easy. Nobody understands that it's not DSHS giving the JP, but when you look at it, it seems like it is because it has DSHS and it has a link. And so they're going to do the same thing with us. Our IT folks is talking to theirs, and they're going to give them the necessary background and put the links on there. Our division is working on the content, and you guys will be helping us on Monday with the specific content of this group.
So is that going to shut down for 6 days as well, or is it just
No.
going to be going?
It's
Okay.
going to go on.
Okay.
Because some of the programs require it by initial, and some of them require it by renewal, and some of them require initial and renewal. So you'll have also on the page where you, after you get to the speech language page, there'll be another button that says JP exam, and when you click on that, it's going to give you some intro information saying your license requires you to take this exam at initial or it's going to be different for each and every one. So we're going to give them some information. Again, we like to provide a lot of key necessary information that the licensee or the applicant needs to know, because we don't want the phone call. We want to minimize folks calling us. Again, we're pushing almost to 1 million folks that we license, and you can imagine we have everybody calling us, we'll never get anything done. So we're trying to get as much information as needed, and as we see, as you said earlier, when we have those frequently asked questions, the same questions coming up, we're going to answer those and put them out there. So we want to make sure that the licensee has everything they need so that they can move on with their lives, and we're not an impediment.
Sherry Sensibrian, so is it E&E that will manage the CE audits and making sure people took the right kind of CE, their ethics, that kind of thing?
That is correct. It's going to be a collaboration between us and licensing. Eventually, I'll just share this with you. What we want to do is we want to separate the license renewal and the CE requirements in the CE. We don't want the CE to be a contingency on license renewal. So we would rather you just get licensed. We assume you did your CE, and then on the tail end, we're going to come back and audit you. And if you did not do it, then you'll deal with the enforcement guys who are about to come up and present. But those kinds of things, it makes it a lot smoother. But at this time, we can't do that because by rule it says, so we're working with licensing and we're working with our IT folks to make that happen so that, we could get those renewals out as quickly as possible. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. And enforcement.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Karen Cox. I'm the enforcement attorney assigned to give your report today. And since it has not been October 3rd yet, I don't have the typical report that you're going to see in the future is this page with the bar graph, with the pie graph on it. No wonder my kids are bad at math. In the typical enforcement report will have on one side the program statistics and on the other side the general enforcement section statistics. And it's going to be things like the performance measures, which shows our number of cases open, number of cases closed, The third one is an important one. That's the average time to close days. The legislature grades us on how long it takes us to prosecute our cases from the initial time, the initial date we open the case, which can be the date that we get the complaint. In the second part of our report is the overview of the enforcement division, and that's the intake division. They get the complaint. When they open it, when they assign a complaint number to it, that starts the clock on that performance measure. And we're supposed to do it within a certain number of days. The days vary by program. Then intake collects information. They look at a complaint and decide with the broadest possible end of the funnel whether it states a violation that we can pursue. To use an example that we get a lot in cosmetology, which is a program I just did, if you're unhappy with your haircut, we do not prosecute that. And if that's what the complaint is, they were rude to me, they didn't do my hair very well, the air conditioning guy didn't recommend the kind of air conditioner I like, those get a nice thing, but thank you, we don't prosecute those. If intake decides that it is a complaint, that it does violate one of our laws, it's the broadest part of the, like I said, the broadest end of the funnel, it goes to investigations. And that continues with the average time to close. The investigators have a certain amount of time to collect further information. One other thing that happens at intake a lot of times is we get complaints that don't have any supporting documents and they need it. Do you have a receipt? Is a good one. We send a letter. If the complainant never responds to us, the case is never opened or is closed at intake. It may have been opened and assigned a complaint number and then it's closed at intake. If everybody plays by the rules and we get enough information, then it goes to an investigator. The investigator has some time to collect further information and they interview the witnesses. In the DSHS programs, this will be the attorneys and the investigators and the intake will be a much more tightly focused unit. The attorneys will be involved from the beginning, the investigators will be involved from the beginning to examine the complaints because it's more, it's not, we need to get more and different information. Then the next stage is prosecution. Once the investigator collects all the information, it is forwarded to the prosecutor. That would be, in this particular program, me. And at that point, the prosecutor will take a look at the case, see if enough information, if there's enough evidence, if there's enough competent information, information that we can use in a hearing to support, to demonstrate that a violation did occur. And then the enforcement attorney issues what's called a notice of alleged violation. That is an initial pleading. At that point, the respondent has the option of either requesting a hearing. We include a settlement offer in the NOAV. They can accept the settlement at that point and the case closes. Or they can request a hearing, or they can do nothing, in which case the case goes to default, which is when Brian signs an order that says the respondent didn't answer and we're imposing a penalty because he didn't. Back to the key statistics. Number of cases resolved within 6 months. We want that to be within 6 months from the date that the intake opens it to the date the prosecutor closes it. And you'll see that we have 60% of those that do that. And then slightly more than a quarter of our complaints actually result in disciplinary action. That would be a fine or penalty. So 75% of them, a little bit less than that, don't result in penalties. You'll see the sources of complaints. They're by program. Cosmetology is 34, electricians is 23, tow is 16, and then the rest make up the remaining about a little bit more than a quarter. The sources of our complaints are consumers, criminal history, the department, and other being the industry, our own internal investigation. Sometimes we find out in the course of investigating one complaint that there is a subsidiary complaint against another person that needs to be opened. The bottom of the report with the pie chart on it is case outcomes. It shows commission orders. In fiscal year 2015, that just ended, we had 48 commission orders, 2,270 agreed orders, 912 default orders, and then we assessed $4.5 million worth of penalties and collected $2,362,000. Of those, we revoked 161 licenses and suspended 4. There were 528 cases where the license was denied or revoked due to criminal history, and we issued 621 cease and desist orders. A cease and desist order probably merits some explanation at this point. If, in cases where there is someone who is alleged to be engaging in unlicensed activity, then we issue, through the executive director, a cease and desist order. If their license has been revoked and we find out that they're still engaging in the program, in the process, or engaging in the business, then we'll do another cease and desist order. And it's in conjunction with an ordinary disciplinary hearing. It's not a separate order. So it would be issued for example, it would be issued with the NOAV that says, you're being an unlicensed person, please stop. You will note also there's criminal history discussion on this. In your meeting in April, you adopted the criminal history guidelines. You adopted the criminal history guidelines on May 23rd. The commission approved them on June 22nd, and they were posted on our website on July 29th. I can discuss those if you want to. If you have any other questions, I am open for questions at this point.
This is Patricia Brannon. Do you know how many complaints we have on the books that need to be resolved?
We just got the complaints yesterday, I think, this last week. So I can get that back to you before the end of the meeting, probably. But it'll take, I hope I can get that back to you. If I can't, but I think I can, but I'm not really actually sure of that. I know that we have some of them. I don't know if I can get that exact number yet.
Sherry Sensibrian, 2 things. One, under DSHS, our enforcement actions were available to the public on the homepage. Is that going to be the case with TDLR? So that if they're looking to use a provider, they know if that provider's been sanctioned?
Final orders are available. During the course of an investigation, no, that's
Right.
not
But
not
these are
available.
final orders, so where would they be available?
I am pretty sure they're on our webpage, although I'm having a senior moment and I can't remember. That is the kind of question I
Wendy
should
knows.
always know.
Mary, it is, and I see Chris is moving forward.
Heading towards the dais.
Ah.
Website, under, let's see, main page of the website, under search and verify, search violations.
Search violations, okay. Great. And then the second thing, I think we've talked about a little bit before, but I just want to make sure it's on the radar. The mechanism for TDLR reporting practitioners to the National Practitioner Data Bank because they're healthcare providers, so.
We will give some attention to that once we get the whole program up.
I'm sure you have a plan for that,
We'll have a
right?
plan.
Other questions for Karen? Thank you. And licensing division report?
Good afternoon, members. Leonard Rivas with the Licensing Division. Stephen covered a lot of information in his report that licensing is involved in. The other information I have is we hired 4 additional staff members. One started August 1st. The other 3 will come on board October 3rd. There was a question also about the notary on the application that came up. We did not put the notary on the application on the new forms. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Ready to get to work?
Yes, I am.
We've been talking about it long
I
enough.
know.
It's time to just jump in and
Yes,
do
I'm
it,
ready
right?
for it all to be over.
Yeah.
That would be October 3rd, by the way.
Yes, October 3rd.
What time is that?
October 3rd, I believe. No, I'll go. I'll give you an update. in a
Any
minute.
questions?
I think so.
Okay,
Thanks, Leonard.
Thank you.
And on the agenda, we have a report from DSHS. Anybody have something they need to report from DSHS?
I think I filled you in kind of on what's going on at
Okay.
DSHS, and since we hired their executive director,
Stephen and Katie kind of straddled both worlds for a little bit, and so that's covered. Okay, great, thank you. All right, so the next item is an update from work groups, and I think this is a question maybe, Tamala.
I was asking if you wanted to take
5 minutes.
Anybody need a break, or are we good?
Okay.
I think we're good. Since work groups are a slightly different structure than we've seen under DSHS, my question is how those are going to work. Does the staff initiate calling a work group together? How does all that work?
Yeah, the staff, depending on which committee it is, you'll be contacted by someone from one of the, initially probably one of the directors, but then ultimately staff from the different divisions, like the enforcement work group would be contacted by someone from, very possibly Chris Russi, from the division. But yeah, we'll schedule those, and of course, like we said, those don't have to be done in person. We can do those by phone, people don't have to travel, and we will provide materials and maybe an agenda and that sort of thing, so you kind of order the meeting. So yes, those will be initiated and originated here by us, here from us, excuse me, not here.
Okay. So I think there are things that are questions that are out there about the rules, edits, things that maybe just got overlooked as we did this. So we have a rules work group. So what staff member might need to have a visit about that? Rules. We have a work group, but I wasn't sure about the staff member who would deal with that. Would
Which
that-
work group?
Rules.
Oh, rules.
I've forgotten who our liaisons are
Well,
for.
Specifically standards of care or just rules in general? Because, I mean, we have the work groups broken up by enforcement, licensing, education and exam, and then standards of care.
So, for example, one of the things that just sort of fell through the cracks, and I didn't notice before, was that a clear definition of direct and indirect supervision wasn't part of the current, our TDLR rules.
Right.
And so that there's probably just needs to be sort of a parking lot of things that have come up
Sure.
that work group may need to deal with in the next time that rules are reworked.
And we will, I mean, ultimately, now that, once the programs come on October 3rd, we will, we'll start having these work group meetings to deal with some of these issues, particularly, you know, you looked at the rules, but the rules y'all recommended for adoption by the commission were basically your existing rules rearranged and a few things taken out here and there. The real meat of the work is gonna come once things get started here. Now, I don't know, we do have, you know, these work groups on the agenda are kind of standing work groups.
Uh-huh.
We could possibly, I mean, we'll
Might
see
be
going
standard of
forward.
care.
Yeah, if it's standards of care, and if we need to, at some point, establish a rules work group, we could possibly do that, but I think we're gonna try and stick with the subject. I mean, we may have, you know, part of the rules goes to the enforcement work group, part of the rules goes to the standards of care, part goes to licensing or education exam, and then we kind of put it all together here for the full board to look at, so. But you'll be hearing from us.
So we're not slacking because
No,
we
no,
haven't
no,
had
no.
work group meetings, right? So you
Yeah,
guys are going to initiate
yeah.
those.
It's not on you, it's on us.
And just one thing, Wendy Pell, Assistant General Counsel, I think the issue you had mentioned is item E4, referral to standard of care work group, review and recommendations regarding the speech pathology assistant supervision rule, Rule 111.50G. I think that's what you're referring to. So that would be referred to that standard. I think the standard of care may be broader than just standard of care, may catch some other issues on
Okay.
that.
But
you,
we,
Wendy.
we did, Mary Winston, we did want to highlight, as Wendy pointed out, that it's already a question, and it's already been referred to standard of care. And if it broaches another group, we'll move it to that work group. Now, I don't have the list in front of me who's in the standard of care work group for this board. Do you know, Tim?
Yeah, we do
She's
have that
pulling it up
information.
now.
It's not at Mary's
Yeah.
fingertips right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, and have no fear, Sharon, you will have lots of good work to do.
Well,
You'll be
that
hearing
part,
from
not
us.
so much, but I'm just glad to know that you guys are the ones initiating.
Oh,
and
yes,
We don't
yes.
have to
Yes,
remember
yes. We'll
to do
coordinate that.
anything, so.
No, you won't be graded down for, on your performance.
We don't get a failing grade
No,
for
no,
not
no,
having
no.
met. So standard of care is Carl Hummel, Patricia Brannon, Bob Novak, and Kristen Plummer.
Okay.
So we actually have some names. We'll need to do some rearranging since Dr. Novak has resigned, but we've got people ready whenever. Other questions or comments about the work groups? We don't really have much. Wendy, did you have any other input about that? No?
Not at this time.
Anything we need to know about work groups? You know you have an assignment, somebody's gonna call you. You're supposed to do something. All right. So the other thing that might be a little different is when constituents contact the TDLR through, I think the email thing that Stephen was talking about is probably the best way. Then does that information just get handled through TDLR? Does that ever come back to the board if there's something we need to discuss? How does that part work? So you have licensees who are contacting you saying, I don't understand this rule, or why is this working this way, or I don't think this is right. Do we hear about those? Communication from licensees, in other words.
Are we talking during the rulemaking process?
Oh, no,
or
I just mean
after?
sort of any time, if there's something that comes in, do we know that? Is there any reason we need to know that?
Generally, we wouldn't do a group email about that because honestly, it would come in through our customer service. And we wouldn't necessarily know about it unless it was something that they could not answer. And then it would step up to advisory.boards at TDLR. Sometimes people skip all over everything and go straight to the executive director, and then it has to filter back down. If there's something that, again, we'd like to track these things because we do like to trend. We're in-house and you guys are in the real world. So the way we get the information is through you and our licensees and tracking those trends of this apparently appears to be a problem or what have you. If that became an issue, then we would discuss it and probably bring it up during an advisory board meeting as an issue. If it's just a random question, it has been handled by customer service. If they're satisfied, they don't ask any further. If they're not, customer service will contact Stephen or Katie or whoever in compliance. Or it'll go through until it gets properly answered. If we get more than one random question or if we get a set of the same questions, then we'll know we have a problem or an issue of concern. And that's when it may rise to the level of advisory board.
One thing, if I can add, Wendy Pello, if it is a rule issue and we look at it and realize, okay, this just can't be answered by FAQ or this is just a simple question, but it is a rule issue, I would anticipate this like going to the appropriate work group from them looking at and having that come back up to the advisory board, because if we're going to need to change a rule, obviously that's going to need to come back through you all. So obviously we'll take a look at what the nature of the question is, but anything with rulemaking that where we would need to make a change to the rule or have a discussion with the advisory board, that would come back to you all.
And as Wendy alluded to, I mean, if it's, if it's a very specific question about one person, we'll deal with that person. But if it's something that's applicable to a lot of other people, then it could result in a frequently asked question being generated and posted on our website for everyone to see, so.
All these people, anything else we need to ask? We have all these resources available.
This is Tammy Camp. Just a question on the enforcement side of things, because I know that our work group, when I read the meeting minutes, I wasn't here last time, and it said that the work group would be continuing to meet regarding penalty matrices and et cetera, and we hadn't met, and so is that just kind of waiting until after October 3rd, until transition actually occurs, or what, or are those things already in place? Will we see those things? Just curious.
Chris is going to provide us an update here.
Great. You didn't get away with just sitting back here.
I've really tried to also. Chris Russi, Research and Analytics Specialist, Enforcement Division. So our next steps in this process, we already met and we covered the criminal conviction guidelines, as you know, and we're a part of. So our next process, what we're going to do is we're going to ask for the enforcement work group to provide us a training, kind of a day in the life in your industry. We invite definitely for y'all to attend in person, or, you know, if needed, y'all can attend by conference call. As many work group members can attend, of course, you know, is much preferred. You just get the little different outlooks on the situation. Now, after y'all provide that training, we're going to go into the penalty matrix side of things. So Karen, the attorney who's assigned to y'all's program, we've already asked them to go ahead and pull out all applicable statutes and rules from y'all's statutes and rules, and kind of put them into a penalty matrix, and then we will send that to y'all and allow y'all to classify those, and we'll have meetings for those as well.
This is Patty Brennan. I have a question. Do we have information on whether or not the criminal background checks and fingerprinting transferred over?
Yes, they did. They will not be required to fill out another one, as I've been informed so far.
Okay, great.
Any other questions regarding enforcement? Thank y'all, and I will be sending an email out to the work group here in the next couple of months for that.
Great. Recommendations for agenda items for the next board meeting. Obviously, work group reports
Yes.
and.
We'll have staff reports and work group reports. All the items you see on the agenda today will be on the next one, plus anything else that comes up.
And that'll include all the transition issues and.
Yeah, staff reports will include an update on how the implementation is going, and let you know any issues that have come up, and probably give you some stats and that kind of stuff to let you know how things are going, to give you a general idea of how we're proceeding.
Okay, I think since the transition's going to be the big thing, that we'll just spend time talking about how that went and next steps from there, so. We need to talk about a next board meeting, so.
Would you guys like to meet in January or February?
When's the best weather here?
I was gonna say, what's the temperature gonna be?
There's no predicting that, right?
No, no.
We usually get one day of ice in
I know we do.
February.
Yeah, you get one day of ice.
We do have,
February.
weather modification is one of our programs here, but I don't think we
Oh.
can help you out on that, so.
Have any control over it?
No, that's-
Would you guys like to meet on a Friday, or do you have another preference for a date that works better for you all?
Friday's probably as good as any.
Friday, the 17th of February is the Friday before President's Day. I don't know if that poses a travel concern for anyone.
I couldn't be here. I'm speaking at a conference, unfortunately.
24th is also open. March, but that is session time, and it's not likely that we'll.
Crazy. Conflict on the 24th, or does that look like it might work?
February 24th?
February 24th.
Once we maintain the 1 o'clock start time.
Yes.
Dr. Camp and I have gone back and forth on that. There is no good way to get here from Lubbock, so no matter what you do, we can't get here for a 9 o'clock meeting. Our earliest flight gets us in at 9:30, but it also, on the other end, we have to make sure we're done in time to catch a plane back, or we're
Like a
spending.
10:30 start time, would that work for you?
Oh, sorry, Tamla?
10:30?
10:30? That'd be fabulous. Yeah, that'd be great. And then we'd be sure to be done to catch a plane back, and we wouldn't have to wait until the nighttime. Great. Okay, 10:30, February 24th, 2017. Ooh. Okay. George, anything else?
No, ma'am, except October 3rd.
We've heard there's something happening.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
October 3rd.
It'll be in all the papers, I think. I
I
don't
think
know.
we need a giant conference call on October 3rd at 8 o'clock, and how's it going, how's it going?
Stay tuned to our website, I'm sure you'll see something there, so.
Good, good. I expect fireworks and.
Yeah, it's gonna blow up.
Sorry.
Yeah, something interesting. So,
It-
Mary?
One last thing, you asked for a number when Karen was doing her report, and she has gotten the number somehow through
Hey.
some method of technology.
Magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be easier.
The magic of technology is Chris Russi and his iPhone.
Ah, hey, that works.
Chris is a wizard. We don't like to publicize that. There are 49 open complaints that we've taken over from DSHS that we are proceeding on.
Yeah, okay, not too bad, so. Good. Okay, any other
Thank you.
questions, additions? Last chance. Meeting adjourned.